Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mark Edis, a.k.a. Shark, the PA announcer and DJ from your Savannah Bananas, and you are watching the Legends on Deck podcast with hosts Brian Koss and David Condi.
Welcome to episode 112 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss, along with my co-host, David Condi. And today's guest is the CEO of USSSA Baseball. We're welcoming John Latella to the show. John, great to have you on.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, David. And I'll give you guys credit. You got the name right. USSSA. You know how many people mess that up? So,
well, U-Trip. Yeah, everybody says U-Trip or USSSA. Yeah, I did know that. I thought you were going to say your name, and usually I ask the name before, but I'm like, this name's pretty easy. I think I could do it. Some of David's
I think you
former
screw
guests.
that up, Brian, when they're Spanish names.
When we get the Spanish names, and David makes fun of me because I don't have a very good Spanish accent. That worked out pretty good. But yeah, USSSA, because we play it. My son and plays in the tournaments, and I'm familiar with it, so I knew all about it.
Nice.
Absolutely.
So we always like to get started on the background in baseball sports. So kind of give us an idea, when did it start for you? Did you actually play the game? You know, what did you do? What type of sports did you do when you were a young kid, and kind of leading up to where as an adult?
Yeah, so sure. I'm a diehard sports fan, Detroit, which means nice. I'm a longtime suffering sports fan. But, ironically, I lead an organization. Obviously, the diamond sports are kind of our, bread and butter. But I grew up was a very good baseball player, but grew up fell in love with basketball in probably about the 8th grade. So ended up quitting baseball in, I think, 11th grade, and then getting a college scholarship for basketball. So basketball is my true passion and love, but I love all sports. So I ended up playing at a small school just for barely 1 year. You realize quickly, injuries and, the fact that you're probably not going pro. So I figured my probably better well spent focusing on my education. So I was at a small school in Michigan called Albion, and then transferred over to Wayne State. The coach that actually had recruited me to Albion actually went to Wayne State. Then he went from Wayne State to Michigan State. Consequently, I ended up at all those schools, but only played basketball for a short period of time in college. But absolutely love it.
Yeah. So was your dad a big sports guy growing up?
Yeah, he was, but he grew up in a traditional. He's 100% Italian. Obviously, I'm Italian. Last name Latella. So he grew up playing all the sports, but it really wasn't a big thing that was pushed. My grandfather came over from Italy when he was 16, so it wasn't something, that was front and center at that time. But loved them all, but never necessarily played anything, league wise or structured.
So it didn't break his heart when you decided to end baseball and go to basketball?
No, he was a huge supporter, regardless of what I did. Both he and my mom, and actually my grandparents and everybody, was a huge supporter. They didn't care if I was doing basket weaving, basketball, putt golf, frisbee, whatever it was. They were supportive of it. So
yeah, I remember my son. He was wrestling and playing baseball at the same time in high school, and little by little, he started getting tired of baseball. He said, "Dad, I don't know if I want to do this anymore." I'm like, "No, keep playing. Just get to your high school. You will look back." And I remember the junior year, he went to the coach, and the coach called me. He goes, "Your son kind of walked away." I'm like, "Yeah, I won't say why, but I know why he walked away." And then he went to wrestling, did it for 3.5 years, and now he's in college and studying engineering. But at least I got to see him most of his adult life. From youth to high school, at least play baseball, so that was cool.
No, that is the irony of it all. Actually, as much as I love baseball, as much as I love basketball, football, I absolutely love college football. Honestly, I wish Tiger Woods would have come along a little bit earlier, because I would have probably done nothing other than play golf if I had the opportunity.
I know when he had his heyday. Wow, it was just like he could do anything with that ball, you know.
But if you think about golf, golf is the one sport. This is what I tell. Even like I have a 12-year-old daughter, and she plays volleyball. But I'm trying to convince her to play golf. It's the one sport that there's no politics.
Mm.
You don't you don't have to be found. You don't have to worry about necessarily worrying about coaching. You don't have to worry about making a team. You know, whatever. If you shoot the score, you shoot the score, and
Yeah.
you can go wherever you want. So there's something to be said. Something to be said for that.
And I've heard it's the most
That's a
relaxing
good
sport,
point.
so I haven't got to master it yet. My baseball swing won't let me hit the ball, so
Well, so I may be one of the few people that knows what Albion College is. So when you said small school in Michigan, I know people that went there. But getting so you kind of transitioned into from playing college basketball and then transferring to Wayne State and then getting into business at some point. Assuming your major was business, and then kind of took you into a business track career that eventually landed you at USSSA. But would you want to give us a little bit of a background on your business career?
Yeah. So absolutely, I'm actually a lawyer by trade.
Oh, okay.
Knew from a young age. I loved the law. Knew I always wanted to be a lawyer. Didn't necessarily see myself actually being in business. I actually thought I was going to practice law. Um, so ended up from going from Wayne State, then ended up getting a master's degree in finance from a small business school in Michigan called Walsh College. And at the
Know
same
that one
time,
too?
yeah.
Yeah.
So at the same time, people think I'm crazy when I tell them the story. So I actually went to Walsh and got my master's degree at the same time that I went to Michigan State for law school. So I graduated with a master's degree in finance from Walsh in 1999, and I graduated law school in 2000 from Michigan State. So,
Oh,
um,
wow.
yeah, it was a pretty interesting track. Started practicing law, and my dad at that time had started he was in private practice. He was an accountant by trade and had a tax consulting business. And through his endeavors and things that he had done, he had met a couple by the name of Jack and Annette Aronson that had a tremendous food product. They had an all natural salsa. That they were trying to. They owned a little failing restaurant. They were trying to get it into some stores, and ultimately they were going through a tax audit. So they hired my father, and over the course of a couple of years of working with him and getting to know him, they finally had gotten the product into one store, and they asked my dad. They're like, "We're horrible business people. We're very good, for the art and science of business, right? We're good at the art side of it, but really bad at the science part. So do you want to partner with us in this business?" So he said yes. So he started that business in '97 with them, right at about the same time that I was getting out of law school there in 2000 and whatnot. And then unfortunately, he got diagnosed with leukemia in about 2002. And I was practicing law. I was actually a prosecutor in Macomb County, Michigan, which was the third largest county in the state. I was running a senior crime division and doing white collar crime, mostly embezzlements and all your financial types of crimes. And my dad and his partner approached me to come and take over from my dad in the business, which I did. So I ended up starting and moving over to the business. That was probably about 2006. 2007, I came in as kind of as our general counsel slash COO. We were relatively small at that time. And then right after I came in, my dad passed. And so I got thrust into having to learn business a lot faster than what I probably wanted to. And then over the course of, the next 8, 9, 10 years, we grew the business from just a little local salsa manufacturing company into the largest manufacturer of all natural salsa in North America, shipping all over the world, South Korea, Japan, Puerto Rico, Canada, everywhere. We're in every major retailer in the United States. Grew it into a fairly large size private company, and then we exited in 2015. We sold to the Campbell Soup Company. So it's pretty exciting. So I didn't necessarily take the traditional route in my business career. But at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, and I'm sure we'll get here in a couple seconds talking about how I ended up at U-Trip.
Right.
Yeah, because it's actually a really kind of a cool, circuitous story of kind of how I ended up there. But I'm a firm believer in all, whether you're selling a widget, salsa, running a company that is, specializes in diamond sports, all the concepts are the same for the most part. They really are.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because you kind of like where you were just saying, you kind of spiraled up from, oh, I'm going to get into law and I'm going to do, you're doing like a prosecutor type route. And then all of a sudden you shift over to business, right? And then you run this business, running it forward. And then you said you sell it in 2015. So
Yep.
here we are 10 years after. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
11 years ago, I guess. So at what point, like we were just talking about, at what point do you start transitioning into something else? And then when do you connect on the sports side?
So interestingly enough, there is something to be said when you sell your business. I actually get why, I understand why pro athletes have entourages, because they would be bored. Honestly, they would be bored out of their friggin' minds if they didn't have people to hang out with. You get we sold our company, and I'm thinking, this is awesome. I'm 42 years old. I can, I'm gonna play some golf. I'm gonna hang. And then you quickly realize it's like, shit, all my buddies are still working. Like
Right.
this like I gotta focus and do some other stuff. So, I did a little bit of, I jumped around a little bit, practiced a little bit of law, did some consulting, owned an apple orchard, started a, which is technically still going. We launched a non-gaming fantasy sports app that's not reliant upon live sporting events, which was pretty cool. That's still floating around. So I did a bunch of different things. And then it's funny because my old partner, and he's deceased now as well, Jack Aronson, he was the hugest softball guy. I mean, absolutely obsessive. I mean, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars at Garden Fresh buying softballs, buying bats. We had a full gym in the back of our headquarters with 2 full batting cages, and he would pay local guys to come up and pitch to us so he could hit. So he was my dad's age, older than me, but he played for team. I want to say it was the 50 and over Team USA, and then the 60 and over team as well. So he played a lot of U-Trip ball, and then he had a buddy by the name of Bob Waldyke, and Bob was I think he's 33 on U-Trip's greatest players list or something like that. He's in the top 100. Let's put it that way. And Bob was one of these guys that, I don't know if you guys are familiar. I think it's called the long ball bombers. And what they would do is they would go around to all your major league ballparks and do home run exhibitions prior to major league ball games with softball. And he still holds the record, I think, for the longest home run ball hit in Milwaukee Stadium off that slide in left field. So I played softball with these guys my entire career coming up while we owned Garden Fresh, and then even after. And then Bob Waldyke out of the blue one day, this is probably about a year and a half ago, he always knew, I keep in touch with everybody, and he always knew that I was bored and looking for something, that next thing. And he goes, U-Trip's looking for a new CEO. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, you'd be perfect. And then just to show you how the world works, the chair of the board of U-Trip at the time, I'm also lucky enough, through our businesses and the success that we've had, and I've got to do a lot of philanthropic work. So I've been heavily involved with the Salvation Army for years, both locally, and then I was also on the national board for years. So the chair of the board for the national board of the Salvation Army, he and I were installed on the board at the same time, and he's friends with the chair of the board for USSSA, a guy by the name of Craig Scriven. So Craig and I ended up getting introduced to each other. And when I found out there was the opening, I threw my name in and he goes, really? He goes, you want to do this? And I was like, yep. What greater, business and sports, two things that I'm absolutely passionate about and love. And it's turned into, honestly, it's awesome. It's one of the greatest gig I've ever had.
So
That's pretty cool.
One thing I'll say, I have a connection with you on the legal side. I think in the '90s when Civil Action the movie came out, I fell in love with, and I wanted to be a lawyer at first, and then I realized how much I have to go back to school, and I'm like, that's not going to work. So I actually got a job at a law firm in the copy room, and my boss is like, why don't you just go be a paralegal? So I actually went and I studied. I went to his course. It was like an 8-month course, paid for it, passed it, and I said, okay, I have to go to an interview. And every interview is like, well, you need experience. I'm like, well, what was the point of me going to the course for and getting certified? So then I never did it. I waited. Well, it was a few years later. My boss in Connecticut was good friends with a lawyer in New York, and then I ended up working for him for 2 years, working under the Workers' Compensation Department as a paralegal. And
nice.
I was loving it. I was in heaven, and then my wife said, "Let's move to Florida." I'm like, "Oh man!" And then you come down here, and it's who you know. I ended up working in a law firm for about 4 years, but it was a legal assistant position, but they wouldn't give me my title because they didn't want to pay. It was like who you knew. I'm like, I have experience, but I've always loved the law. I love watching lawyer movies. I love the interaction, the court. You know, when the cross examinations and all that. I love that stuff.
And I know why. I'm going to tell you why you love it. It's the same reason that I love it. It is the closest, and this is the best way I can explain it. I probably have I don't even know. I had probably 30 to 40, maybe 35 jury trials under my belt. And it's the closest thing I tell people all the time to sports competition. If you're competitive and you have that, like that drive in you, and that's why most of us like sports, right? Because it's a competition. You get to practicing law and being in the courtroom is the closest thing that I've ever, and I'm uber competitive. So that to me, if you ask me single-handedly, what's my absolute favorite thing that I wish I could still sprinkle a few trials in there, here and there, trying a case and being in the courtroom is awesome.
Not even that, the research. Like I love researching and being a paralegal. Like I would research everything, and now in every job I've done since, I love to research. And with the website, we research and stuff, and I just love that discovery and everything. It's just different. If I could have stayed in New York, I would have probably ended up being I would have stayed a paralegal, but I had the opportunity to grow in the workers' comp division and then go to trial, go to court myself, because you can do that to a certain extent. And I would have loved that, and just helping people, but and just seeing a good lawyer tear somebody down.
Okay, I don't want to hijack your podcast, but what's your favorite legal movie?
No, I said Civil Action, I think, was the one.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Civil Action, and then I like some other ones. Like, what was the one that Jack Nicholson screamed at?
Oh, A Few Good Men.
Yeah, so when they got him in the court and he got him like questioning, I love that. Like back and forth, just trying to get the truth out of him. I love that.
Yeah, you can't handle the truth.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, who would have known we would have gone into I think, David, this is our first episode where we got into a conversation about legal issues or
Listen,
we went on this tangent. That's good. It's
there's a lot of legal issues going on with the Mets right now that I can probably solve,
Yeah, true. True. So with USSSA, so I'm thinking about the organization for what it is, and you mentioned softball being a big piece of it, and that would be adult softball, right?
Yep.
Men's or co-ed, and also obviously baseball at the youth level. So can you give us an idea of just kind of an overview? What is USSSA? What does it all encompass? How far of a stretch do you have across the country? What are some of the different divisions of the company?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, we're a national organization. I think a lot of people don't, especially people in Florida, don't necessarily realize that because we have such a cool headquarters over in Melbourne, which is the old Washington Nationals and Florida Marlins spring training facilities. So yeah, I have the coolest office in the world. It's a suite that overlooks home plate of the main stadium. So, hard to beat that. But national organization, we have a footprint pretty much in every state. And to your point, Brian, our sweet spots are those three sports. The USSSA was really built on the backbone of slow pitch softball, which is the adult softball that you referenced. And obviously co-ed, but one of the things that I don't think people realize with regards to UTRIP, and it's actually interesting, if you look at like ESPN, the Ocho that hosts and shows, a lot of not mainstream sports, so to speak.
Right.
But we have what's called Conference USSSA, which is honestly, it is the highest level of, it's called the majors. It's the highest level of softball, slow pitch softball that there is in the world. We have the top athletes in the world. These guys are, most of them are former Major League Baseball players or high level college players. A lot of them are under contract with most of our big sponsors like Marucci, Rawlings, Wilson's, Louisville Slugger, DeMarini. These guys are all partners of ours. And most of the guys that play on these teams are paid actual athletes playing slow pitch softball. So a lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, actually, I'd love for you guys to come down, and when we hold our worlds, it's a sight to see, because these guys are
Cool.
unbelievably talented. You want to talk about seeing people hit some bombs? There you go. And then for the women's as well, we have the Conference USA for the women's side of it, which is, a lot of, unfortunately in the women's game, obviously most of those women came up playing fast pitch, and after college, there really isn't, if they play D1, D2, whatever it may be, there's really not an avenue for them. So a lot of their best players also end up playing slow pitch with us. So it's a huge program for us. It's actually growing. We're in the process right now of growing the game over in Europe. I have a gentleman, each of our three sports, I actually have a national sports director or sports head for each of those sports. Sean Melvin is the guy that runs our slow pitch program. He does an amazing job. And it's growing. It's a slowly growing game. I don't know if you remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, back when like Little Caesars and stuff used to be huge in slow pitch game over in like the Metro Detroit area.
Yeah. Well, I do remember slow pitch softball being pretty big.
Yeah.
When I was younger. But yeah, you'd hear a lot, especially like you said in the Detroit area, I would hear a lot about, men's softball leagues, or you'd hear guys talking. I hear my dad's friends telling me, "Oh yeah, I got a softball game to get to," or you'd hear it a lot. So it was very popular in that area.
Yeah, a lot of these beer leagues actually turned into something much bigger than what it is. And like I said, obviously with some of these partners that we have, they probably should know I'm doing the podcast, so we could get a little bit more sponsorship dollars from them.
Yeah.
But we own that bat standard too. So if you go to the store, you go to Dick's, you go to any of the sporting goods store, there's a 1.20 beat bat performance factor on there. We own that standard for baseball and slow pitch, and we sell thousands of bats for these companies as well, so that guys or women can play in our sanctioned events.
Well, I learned that with the tournaments, because we did U-Trip tournaments a couple of years ago with my son, and it was the certain bats we had to have. They had to have a stamp on it, because when we walked in with the BB Core, we didn't have a stamp on it. We couldn't perform. So I was like, oh, didn't know that. So I had to learn the hard way. I had to go spend some money.
Yeah, listen, it's how, BB Core mostly is used in high school sports, and obviously in college, they use the BB Core standard. And then our sweet spot with regards to baseball, we're really strong in the 8U to 14U space. We're going to be delving more into that higher tier, that 14U to 18U, probably here in the near future. I won't say what it is, but maybe there might be a fairly sizable or nice partnership that's coming down the road with regards to UTRIP, which we'll be branching out and doing some more things. But baseball is actually our biggest program. Obviously baseball's still huge. It's depending on who you're talking to and what you're hearing, some people think it's a little bit of a sport in decline, but I beg to differ with you when you come, look at all our facilities throughout the country and how many kids are playing in these tournaments, and how dedicated they still are to it. And again, we have the same, to your point, David, we have the same, it's a different bat performance factor with baseball than in what it is obviously for softball, but we sell a lot of bats and have great partnerships on the baseball side of that as well. And then the fastest growing sport actually out there, and I think it's evident if you watch the women's, fast pitch World Series for the NCAA, women's fast pitch and girls fast pitch is just killing it right now. We actually right now started last weekend and it goes through this weekend. We have our largest tournament ever, girls fast pitch, 170, either 174 or 178 teams there this week.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And this is at the complex in Melbourne.
Yeah, Space Coast Complex in Melbourne. Yeah. So
I've been out there. I've been out there for a tournament. I mean, that place is impressive. I will say that it's a whole. I mean, if we'll maybe try to get some pictures when we release the podcast, but that facility is it's one of a kind for sure. I mean, it's almost like you pull up and it's like almost like a Disney World for baseball tournaments. It's with the turf, a lot of turf, your turf fields, and you guys had like you have like an internal what would I call it? Like a TV system or a broadcasting system where you broadcast the games through USSSA?
Yeah, so we have USSSA live. So we do broadcast the game. So if you're not able or grandparents aren't able to see their game, they can sign up for a subscription and be able to watch the games. To your point that you made, Brian, we've got 15 fully turfed fields there. Obviously, a former professional stadium that holds 8,000 people. Then we also have a professional women's fast pitch stadium too. We did used to have a women's fast pitch professional team called the Pride. That went away about 2 years ago, year and a half ago. But the kids love, like you see these little girls this week, they get to play on that field and they feel like they're playing, in Tiger Stadium or one of these, great all the kids feel that way when they come there. It's just different. The ballparks are all beautiful. They're all turfed fields. It's just exciting. It takes it to a different level for these kids.
So I wanted to ask you something on the softball. So back in the 80s, I played I wasn't professional, obviously, but soft pitch softball, but it wasn't the arc. It was just smaller. Was it always the arc, or did that evolve with the slow pitch?
Well, it essentially has evolved, and obviously there's certain, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what they are, but there's a ceiling as well as a floor to what those pitches can be thrown within to make them legal. But yeah, it's evolved. Everything's evolving, right?
So you guys do the real arc, like it goes up in the air, you gotta wait for it to come down.
Yeah, but I mean, not too crazy. And again, it's different. You'll see some guys that push the limit of how much arc they put on it. And then you'll have other guys that have a flatter, more of a flatter trajectory or less arc on it.
Is it harder to call strikes on either one? I mean, at the smaller one, yes. Maybe the higher one is harder.
I mean, honestly, and again, I'm not an ump, but I guess I bet you if I were to ask our umps, I bet you they would tell us it's more difficult to call the strikes on probably the higher arc pitch. Mm-hmm. But then again, if the pitch is too flat, they're not gonna call it a strike either, because that defeats the whole purpose of the slow pitch game.
Yeah, I think I did a little bit of it, and I was doing baseball and I was doing it at the same time. I'm like, I gotta stick to baseball. It's throwing me off. I can't do this.
You want to try something really difficult? We'll get you out there and try to throw how the girls throw in the fast pitch.
Oh yeah,
it's unbelievable how they do that. It's crazy.
I agree. But I've always said this too, is that if you think about the throwing mechanics of how you would naturally throw, the way that your shoulder works, throwing a baseball overhand is probably the most unnatural motion you can make. And if you look at the way the girls throw on the underhand side, it does seem to make it's probably better on the shoulder, and it's why I think they throw more innings in general out on the field. So I will say that, but it is amazing to watch.
Brian,
Yeah,
I'm going to hook you up. Make sure when you come down to the stadium, I'm going to hook you up with a guy. We have an older gentleman, John Clarkson, that works for us. He's awesome, and he's been a slow pitch pitcher. And him and I went on that subject this week, and
yeah.
he what you just said is 100% accurate. He said the slow pitch motion is actually the regular motion of the arm. And
Of
make and
course. I mean,
yeah,
it goes this way. I had a conversation with a student that I had last year, and she was a softball pitcher, and I was talking to her about it. I said, "How many girls do you have on your team that pitch?" He says, "Like three of us." And I'm like, "How do you play tournaments with three pitchers? Like you're playing 4 games a weekend?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "We could throw a lot of innings." I'm like, I guess, it's not the same thing when you even have a 10U, 11U baseball boys tournament. You need like 6 pitchers to get through the tournament because
yeah.
you don't want to throw their arms out. So yeah, it's a totally different thing, which
Well,
is kind of interesting.
I'll tell you, my dad pitched high school baseball, and he's a lefty, and he back in the 60s, I think, and he threw his arm out. And then when he became a police officer, he joined the police softball league through underarm and won Cy Young's pitching underarm. And he would throw fast. He had a knuckleball, and he never got tired. He said he
Yeah.
can pitch all day long. He never got tired, but he could never throw overarm ever again. After
Yeah, maybe no, who knows? In 50 years, maybe everybody will throw it underhand.
Maybe they
Be
should do that in
interesting.
baseball now because everybody's getting hurt. Switch it up. Just go on.
Switch it up, exactly. Maybe less Tommy John surgeries. Um, So I had a question for you on sort of the structure of the tournaments. I've heard different things on it. I was trying to clarify how they work. Now, when tournaments are played at the Space Coast facility, that's all managed and run by USSSA, I assume. But you have USSSA tournaments going on all over, say, the state of Florida on any
Yeah.
given weekend. What's the structure or the management of those tournaments, and how do people run tournaments through USSSA?
Yeah, so I guess U-Trip's interesting in the fact that so the first and foremost, I think there's a lot of confusion. We're not a tournament company. U-Trip is a sanctioning and governing body to start with, right? And what we've done that's unique and how we've built the company and been able to maintain over all these years, essentially what we've done. So to go out and take any individual state for instance, we have what we call a state director that runs each one of these states. And in their state, so let's say you're the state director for Iowa, your responsibility then is to go out and grow your program in Iowa. And what does that mean? That means maybe you get some affiliate directors below you that are holding tournaments, or you yourself will go out and hold these tournaments, right? And what happens in there then, what happens is there's shared economics with regards to that between, obviously they're playing under the U-Trip sanctioned rules. We bring the umps to the game. We have our umpires we bring to the game. Obviously, there's we've already talked about the bat standards and having to use U-Trip certified bats in these tournaments. But one of the nicest things about utilizing the U-Trip system and what we bring to the table is our classification system, which we spend significant amount of time, and that's why our state director model works, as well as we have a national committee for each sport. They get together very often. So if let's say you have a tournament team, Brian, of 12 U players, and let's say you guys are 10-0, we're going to look at that and say, is Brian's 12U playing in the right division? Are they A, B, C? Should they move up a division? Because we want there to be parity, right? There's no fun in having a kid go to a tournament over a weekend, wherever it is. Mom and dad are spending a ton of money, and Timmy's team loses, 12-0, 13-0, 14-0. He leaves, right? He leaves all upset. It wasn't exciting for anybody, and it cost mom and dad a ton of money. So,
Right.
yeah, so that's one of the things that our classification system provides is parity amongst all for most of the not most, but all the tournaments that we hold, and it's constantly being reevaluated and redone. And that's why and again, that's why our director model works. So any of those directors then, through their relationships that they have then with, municipalities or privately owned facilities throughout the country that they establish, they go out and they fill up these weekends and hold USSSA tournaments. Then there's also NITs and special tournaments that we hold that you get points and you can earn to then come to, some of the events that you'll see in Melbourne, then some of the national events to make yourself eligible for. So it's pretty exciting that the way that it runs, and the way that exists is the same for slow pitch, fast pitch, and baseball throughout the country.
So there's a lot of autonomy state by state and by, state and local directors and how they manage those projects. Yeah.
So they're all playing by the same rules. Everyone's playing by the same rules throughout the country. The fee structure, in terms of the sanctioning fees and all that, is all the same throughout the country. Now, obviously, individual tournament directors and whoever are running their tournaments, that's their own private company. So they set their own team registration fees and all that type of stuff. And then one of the other things that when they're U-Trip and they're obviously using us for sanctioning and all that and playing by our rules, one of the other things it gives them is access to our system as well. So our technology, so to speak, which we have top-notch technology that we've had for years. It's constantly being updated, but it allows us to build out almost any type of tournament, 2-game elimination, 3-game elimination with 10 teams, 15 teams, 20 teams. So a lot of them use the technology to build out their brackets, and then again, the classification systems and all those types of things.
It's a lot.
It's very interesting. Yeah, I did.
Let me tell you guys, when I first took, so I've been there now going on April, May, June. So this is my 14th, 15th month.
Okay.
Wow.
And there was, and I consider myself, I won't say I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I think I'm relatively astute. And, it takes a while to learn this business. And each sport's different too. There's differences between baseball and fast pitch. There's obviously difference between slow pitch and, then the youth games, right? There's
Absolutely,
yeah. So there's a lot of differences, but then in the same token, the way organizationally, the way we run, there is a lot of autonomy with regards to how we do that and kind of how we operate.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, no, it does sound like a bit of a complicated structure, but it makes sense. And they're all three of those are separate, right? So you said there's like somebody running fast pitch, somebody running. So yeah. So at any given weekend, there could be who knows how many USSSA tournaments there are and going around throughout the state or the country.
Again, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's again, that state director, that's part of their function as well. If there's 20 tournaments going on, let's say, again, we'll use Iowa as an example. If there's 20 tournaments, that state director, he's the one over the course of that weekend where he's fielding calls with regards to, if there's any issues, if there's any disputes, if there's any, with guest players and different, they're really working hard and they need to be on call, and they're doing a lot of, there's a lot of moving parts to putting on one of these tournaments and what goes on, especially now we're in our sweet spot, right? This is especially for the Midwestern states and the Northern states, this is summer. Everything's flying around now. Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense too, because you'd have during the summer months up north, you're going to have a busier calendar. And then when you're, during the winter or the spring and fall, Florida is busy. So, you have, probably a good flow of events all year long.
Yeah.
But so I was kind of maybe final wrap up sort of thoughts on what is and then we've gone over a lot of things and you've kind of given us some good insight into what the company's direction is or where you're taking it. But if you were to say, from whatever you could share, what are some of the goals and expectations going into maybe the next year or so and maybe even further into the future for the company?
Yeah, so youth sports in general is going through a lot of change right now. Private equity is infusing a lot of money into it.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. One of the things that we're doing at UTrip, and I've changed a lot of things over the course of the last year, but we're focusing really on, I wanted to, believe me, and I love diamond sports. I love slow pitch. I love baseball. I love fast pitch. And I'm a huge, as we talked about at the beginning of the call, I'm a huge sports fan myself. Grew up playing sports, was lucky enough, albeit for only a short period of time, was lucky enough to at least have the talent to be able to play Division III basketball and be recruited for that. The reality of it is, though, is most kids are not going to play pro ball, right?
Right.
Pro ball is one level. Even playing college, NAIA, Division III, Division II, Division I. So one of the things we're really switching gears on is obviously we're going to keep pumping and supporting the programs and the athlete, but we really want to focus on the athletes. And I look at it and I look at myself as a successful, after playing all my sports, a successful attorney, successful businessman, now getting to lead this amazing, youth sports organization. I'm able to do that because of sports, right? So we want sports to be a learning and kind of taking a holistic approach to it where kid, hard work, dedication, showing up on time, being a good teammate, all those things, even if you don't play pro, guess what? You can have a great career. All the things you learn through sport is going to help you in your career, regardless of what you're going to do. So we're really focusing heavy on that. We're offering up a bunch of new. We're going to be launching a bunch of new programs. We already did start to launch a bunch, and then just overall health and well-being of the athletes too. We just launched a beta program called Built Different. USSSA Built Different. The first week that we launched the beta, we had over 5,000 kids sign up for it. And we haven't even fully launched it yet. We started doing a bunch of other things. I wanted to get away from, just when you look at our social and what we've got out there floating around, it's nice to see pictures of 1,000 pictures of different teams. That's great. But we wanted our content to kind of take on a new level where, parents are the greatest content creators out there. So we wanted to get them really engaged with what we're doing. So we've launched a field reporter network, so that we're getting content from
That's cool.
parents. Yeah, from parents and kids every week, and we can't even keep up. Our library now of content is huge, and it's
That's
amazing.
awesome. That's awesome. How do you connect with something like that? Because the reason I asked too is that, we'll be playing in USSSA tournaments, and my son is actually my 10, almost 11-year-old is a content creator himself, and he does a ton of baseball stuff.
Yeah, so
Uh,
literally, if you guys go to our website, or I can send it to you after the fact,
yeah, yeah,
I can tell you how to do it. But a couple of the other things that he might be interested in, we do plays of the week now. We have players of the week.
yeah.
We're doing all this new stuff. We're also going to be launching an ambassador program here, probably in the next 6 months. So we'll probably have two youth ambassadors for baseball, two for fast pitch, and through some of our partners who we're going to partner with on this. We're going to offer up some scholarship programs with regards to that. We just want to, again, youth sports are taking a beating with regards to what the cost of it is. I want
Right.
people when they leave our organization, I want them to say, gosh, UTrip, other than just offering up a tournament for us, they're offering all these other things, these collateral benefits, so to speak, that are going to help grow my child into a better person. That's kind of what I want to do with the organization, even with us being specifically a youth sports, organization.
No, I think that is a really positive and also forward-thinking idea, because also it's what you're talking about, getting the parents involved, getting the kids involved. I mean, there's so many things connected to the sports, the baseball, the softball networks, right? So things that, and people want, there's an entertainment quality to it as well.
Yeah.
Like people spend their weekends going out there, going to these tournaments, being involved. Their kids obviously are passionate about it. The parents are passionate about it, but they also want to have a good experience, and not just the grind of, oh, we got another tournament this weekend. we're gonna go out there and sit there, for 3 to 4 or 5 games potentially over the course of a weekend. They want to have a good experience. They want to have a good time. They want to have memories when they're out there too. So, like you said, I always see every tournament, you see the winning team is holding the trophy, holding the thing, and that's fun if you're the winning team that weekend.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun if you're the winning team that weekend. You get your rings and you get your pictures and video. But there's so many other fun things that could go on for kids at a tournament, and so many opportunities to kind of entertain and intertwine the parent experience and the kid experience. So I think what you're talking about is really great direction.
No, thank you. No, we're excited about it. We're absolutely excited about where it's going and what we're doing. So, and it's been and listen, it's being proven out. It's we can throw these things out there, but ultimately it's up to the parents and up to everyone that's playing the sports and doing it to prove us out. And we're getting really good feedback with regards to everything that we're doing, which is exciting.
Well, I'm just kind of bummed out because my kids have aged out, and I got into it late. My son's always played rec ball, and summertime is too hot in Florida to do anything else. that's when we
Wham.
took that's when we took a break, and when we finally did the tournaments, I think I did it one tournament with my oldest son, but then my youngest son we did a whole summer, and we just stuck. We didn't want to do PG. We felt like U Trip gave us a better opportunity financially. We did local. PG was just way too much money. It's just ridiculous. Just to buy in for a team. So we did a local tournament, and it was a great experience. We loved it. It was, some if you win a tournament, you got a pink bat, or you got different things. We were probably those teams that were losing bad because I took kids from rec ball to get them ready for high school, and it was just like get them ready and get the experience of playing at the next level. And we finally won our first. We did a Legends on Deck team, and we played summer ball. We were getting blown out. But then we finally won a game in the fall, and it was awesome. It was like, oh, we finally won a game. We beat a team that beat us bad, and then it was on a Sunday, and we had another game after that, and we got blown out. I'm like, guys, like we were supposed to carry that to the next game. But it was just a great experience, and then my son played high school baseball, and then that's it. There's no more. I don't have any grandkids, but it was always that one summer was a great experience to play the.
Not yet,
the
David.
future.
You got time still. Yeah.
No, and that's the point. To Brian's point and your point, right? It's the memories. I want every kid, regardless of whether or not they win the tournament, to have those memories. I've even created something, and you'll see this. Actually, if you go to our Instagram at Play USSSA, you'll see a little bit of it. We introduced two characters. We have a new animated series that we're going to be releasing
Oh,
because
okay.
we want to remember all these kids are showing up at the ballpark with younger brothers and sisters.
You bet.
It's what I call the 3U to the 7U.
Mhm.
So his name's Trip. We have a character called Trip, who's our baseball headed character, and then we have a female fast pitch character named Trix.
Mhm.
So they've both been introduced, and there's a whole ecosystem of other players too. We'll be releasing over the course of the year. So we've got a lot of really cool things going on.
At the end of the day, like Brian and I talk about, we feel like baseball sometimes gets a hit. Not many kids, like you said, the expensive. Not many kids are playing it. Sometimes, you want to grow it in different areas, but when you just can make it fun again, right? Where it's not just, hey, bring the best team in here and win a tournament, where you can make it fun for everybody, like you guys were talking about earlier. It makes it easier for those parents too that have to drag not to bring the younger kids
Yeah.
along and sit there all day long. Like, Mom, it's hot. I don't
Absolutely.
want to be here. Well, let's go do this. And while the older brother or sister is playing, at least they can keep stay within it and stuff. So at the end of the day, that's all it's about, right? Just entertainment, like you guys said. Somewhat of the Savannah Banana type of thing, but not really. Just the entertainment
Yeah.
portion, like keeping people engaged in the sport and baseball. Because we love the game, but it just seems like sometimes it takes a bad rep sometimes, and people don't, because of the expense and a lot of kids just stay away from it. They don't, that was my other point too. I wanted to ask you, like, have you seen an increase in the teams in the sport where more kids are playing it? Because what I've seen around here, a lot of kids are going away from it.
So They are, a lot of them are, and honest, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, Congress is trying to pass that Let Kids Play Act, which is meant to keep private equity out of youth sports because of the influx of money that's flowing in. Because Congress is trying to make the argument that it's too expensive for other teams to play, or for other kids and kids in communities that
Outside of
might
club
not have.
sports. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things we're going to do with regards to that too, I'm trying to focus and hit on all these things, and even when I took the job, it was one of the things that, with having a background like I have through all my philanthropic stuff with Salvation Army, underprivileged communities, these kids they should have the same, might not be all of them. We might not get to all of them, but let's give some of these kids from these communities, give them the opportunity to experience
Yeah.
a tournament at Space Coast where they're playing on turf fields and getting treated, you know what I mean? Getting treated, amazing and all that. So we're hopefully that's the other thing. And I've talked to a couple of our larger partners. We're going to be looking to launch a youth sports coalition that we can hopefully put some dollars in, for some scholarship money, or maybe it might not even be scholarship, but it might just be full paid entry into some of our tournaments so that some of these underserved and underprivileged communities can play in some of our tournaments as well. I think it's a huge part of it.
I would be the
Yeah,
first
I
one
think
to
that's
put it all over our website and help you promote that.
yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I'll listen when I do it. I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, we'll be happy to launch any of that stuff because I think it's a great idea because one of the things that you've seen, and I'll kind of wrap it up after this, but one of the things that you've seen is baseball in the United States become a major cost for families. And it could be some of the reasons you see lower income kids not playing it as much because of it. It's almost become like hockey. And not to say hockey's a great sport, but the fact that hockey is usually requires you got to go get the pads and you got to go get the thing and you got to pay for the ice time, right? So if you're going to get in on the baseball side, you're going to go get the bats and the gloves and everyone's got the swag. The game wasn't usually, many decades ago was not like that at all. It's like
Yep.
you played with whatever glove and bat you could find. But it's moved that way. So you're probably not going to change all of that, right? Because like there's an industry around baseball, but if you can give more people access to that industry, I think that would be a great way to do it and get more kids involved that way.
No, that's 100% what the intent is behind it. David mentioned earlier, and you just mentioned it too, the bat, right? Just the bat is to play in one of our tournaments. And I'm the CEO of this company. To play in one of our tournaments, you have to have a USSSA certified bat. And
Right.
these bats are $200, $300, $400, and that's prohibitive for some of these teams. The bat alone could be prohibitive for them to come to the tournament. So
Right.
we want
So
to.
maybe it's access to equipment even. Yeah.
Yep. And that's why we're going to launch this with some of our partners so that we can make all that stuff available. So these kids hopefully have the same. And again, we're probably not going to be able to, obviously, to get to all of them.
Sure.
But even if it's a small number, I feel like that's a step in the right direction. And hopefully, like to your guys' point, hopefully, start growing the game a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I do
So my
see
grandkids will come around and baseball's still around. I can start coaching again and do it all over again.
yeah.
Exactly.
See, so it's one of those things, and going back to baseball and other sports, I mean, I see a lot of baseball kids, so I know there's a lot of kids that are into baseball, but and I go to these tournaments and I see the number of teams that are playing, and it's overwhelming the amount of kids almost that play. But when you put it into a school setting, I've noticed, couple of kids play baseball, a couple of kids play soccer. There's a group of kids that play soccer. There's a group of kids that play football. There's a group of kids. Sports has become very segmented, and then there's kids that gravitate towards one or another. And it's not as universal, but there is a large niche of baseball kids out there. But it's different than it used to be, right? Where it was kind of everybody did it at some point.
Yeah.
And then they may have gravitated to different sports or in different points, but maybe it isn't that that like introduction point the way it used to be to use sports. So, but I will say it sounds like you guys are doing some really cool things at USSSA, and I think David will agree with me in like your personal life journey to get to where you're at right now is also incredibly interesting and a good inspiring story for our listeners to hear. That you don't always end up where you start, right? And you move in different directions in life and find different avenues. So very, very relatable to many people out there. So John, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great conversation.
No, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Let's stay in touch. I'd like to get you guys up to date and what's going on. And
would love to, yeah.
Would love
Well,
to
there's
be
a lot of things that I'm thinking about.
Melbourne
And
too. I went by. My cousin lives in Melbourne, so it'll give me another excuse to go see my goddaughter and then go catch a game.
you guys, feel free to stop in whenever you guys are around. 51 of 52 weekends a year. We got something going on.
well, you take what, Christmas week off?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah. Kid, no tournaments on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Sorry, guys.
And you know, some the irony of it is you probably find somebody that wants to play on Christmas Day if
you'll find some coaches, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some coaches looking to win a tournament on Christmas Day. But John, thank you so much. We're episode 112 of the Legends on Deck podcast with John Latella of USSSA Baseball.
Thanks, guys.
Yo.